Yeah, bro.
This week on Barbell Shrugged, we interview Zach Even-Esh of Underground Strength Gym.
What's up?
We forgot to do the intro when we were in New Jersey.
Oh, really?
That's the intro.
Dude,
that was it, unless you think we should redo it.
no, dude, that was the most amazing intro ever.
Too much energy.
Too much energy. All right, here we go.
All converted to heat.
Welcome to Barbell Shrugged. I'm Mike Blitz here with Doug Larson and Chris Moore. We have come to Underground Strength, Zach Even-Esh's gym here in New Jersey, Manasquan.
I was going to see if he even knew.
Manasquan, New Jersey.
I was going to see if he even remembered what town he
I
was
thought this state was just one big city at one time. I was like, Jersey, right? That's the place at the beach, and everybody beats each other up and gets too drunk, right?
Anybody that hears about Jersey, you're like, yo, is it really like the Jersey Shore? I'm like, I don't live near what's going on there. We're like 20 minutes from there, and that's like another planet. That is a strange boardwalk. It's like a different planet.
Lots of blowouts up there, bro. The blowout
is out of control,
shit, man.
Before we go any further, go to barbellshrug.com, sign up for the newsletter, and we will give you a video of the 8 snatch mistakes you might be making. It'll be basically Rich running with his shirt off, which we know that we've been getting a lot of ladies signing up for the newsletter. Even if they know they're going to see Rich with his shirt off.
Even if the content is shit, you got that much.
Yeah,
you know?
No one doesn't not want to look at Rich.
I want to look at him. I'm perfectly straight, dude. I'm like, look at those abs, man. Look at you over there.
Chris is like, look at those nipples.
I go, bro, you're so fit, man. God, you're so fit, bro.
Just so you know, this podcast is probably going to be one of the more fun ones.
Oh, man.
Zach is a character. He's from New Jersey, man.
Wind up and let you go, man. Let's say whatever the fuck we need to say here.
I get fired up when I'm talking about training.
Take that jacket off. Getting hot already?
I get hot already.
We were down in Miami, 2-3 weeks ago for Wadapalooza.
Yeah.
Great time.
We got to organize. They were nice enough to let us organize some educational lectures where we invited people like Zach out, and you came out and you spoke for about an hour.
There was a baby in the audience with
it
threw me for a loop. As soon as I was about to talk, I saw this mom sit down with 2 babies, and then then I thought, I was like, they look like they're like 10 months. They ain't gonna even know if I'm cursing.
Yeah, so we had about 8 speakers. Zach was one of them, but Zach came up and just gave like the most inspirational talk ever. I know he inspired Chris over here.
Yeah, I went home and quit my job.
Zach's like, no, don't do that.
No. Well, I put it. You listen to the talk and you can't help but every time you hear a real emotion like that, you feel something that's not bullshit. You hear bullshit talks, like good information here. Take a few notes and that's it. But you overcame everybody with just honesty. And even though you're saying like, fuck, man, I'm just gonna be real. And even though people in the audience might have been a little usually a little turned off by that kind of language, everybody was fucking fired up.
It's
authentic and real.
I actually never used to curse, and then when I started like speaking in front of groups, I remember like somebody told me, they're like, dude, you dropped so many F-bombs. I was like, oh shit. I got caught up in the moment, and I remember the first fitness conference.
You never were swearing before, but maybe you just didn't know it?
Dude, I'm telling you, I was a clean mouth person. Then I started I think when I started,
and then you moved to the Jersey Shore,
dude. I started really getting into the training aspect of everything. I think when you get into the gym, you're it's you, but it's not you. You lose yourself, you find yourself. So I remember at that first fitness conference, the guy, he's like, hey, keep the swearing down, keep the F-bombs down. And I think I like once it just started going, I didn't realize
your brain just heard F-bomb. Do more of that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. Well, you primarily deal with kids, right?
Yeah, well, we got like
How does that work? You train mostly like
I
high
was
school,
signed
high
waiver.
school, high school wrestlers?
This is what I say to them when I start like losing my mind and I'm like cursing. I'm like, don't be fucking going home telling your parents I'm cursing at you. I'm like, don't be fucking telling your parents that I'm crazy. I think they like it. Like they get in here and I think it's like they know
the difference, man. They know they don't need to go home and cuss a bunch. If anything, this is making them obviously way more refined and disciplined. They're probably less likely to go home and be a potty mouth in the wrong situation.
I'd imagine you got a couple of dads that are like, yeah, he needs that shit. Yeah,
dude,
like they're all about it too.
Yeah, when the mom's around, they're like,
parents
no,
that-
we can't have the cuss. He's like, keep that fucking shit up, bro.
You know what that reminds you of? This is such a funny story. I remember, check this out. Senior year in high school, so my wrestling coach was a phys ed teacher, and he hears in the locker room this one kid's like dropping F-bombs like crazy. And like every hour, I was like, oh man, kid's name was Danny. I'm like, Danny's like going crazy. Coach Pagash walks in, he's like, hey, watch your mouth. And my coach had this like very like cutting voice, like he could like just like stop a room. And he's like, oh, come on, Coach Pagash, I knew you curse at the wrestlers all the time when I was on the wrestling team. And Coach Pagash like, there's like silence for like a few seconds, and he goes, no fucking way, man. And then he's like, and the whole locker room was like just dying laughing. But when I don't like come in and say, all right, I got plans to like curse and freak out. But like when that music like goes on, starts getting loud, and like I get them like training, like I don't know what the heck happens to me, but I start like freaking out. I cannot.
Pilot light comes on. You're
I
like,
cannot tone it down. I always say like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 20 when I'm in here, and I'm like I'm just start like freaking out on them.
Well, that's sort of his inside. Like Rogan makes this point, like why he thinks training supports. Like you got this fucking fire, this primal nature in you. If you don't get it out in a very rugged way, slam something heavy and yell and grunt a little bit and smash and kind of honor your legacy as a human, you can't be normal. You can't just then go be calm and normal and do a job if you don't exercise that. It's not a demon. It's just a primal core. You got to get in here and slam some fucking heavy metal weights. Turn up some fucking metal. Get after it a little bit sometimes.
So this gym isn't a traditional CrossFit gym. Are you guys affiliated with CrossFit?
Yeah, I've been an affiliate for almost, let's see, what is this, February now?
Yeah.
So this
2014.
is
2014.
Was
it's
it
like
2009?
6.5 years I've been an affiliate, and I was talking with Alex on the way here. So the original affiliate name was CrossFit Underground, and I think that was like really scared. Like I'm always shocked at like how even the toughest of people are scared. Like Doug, you're an MMA fighter.
Very tough.
Scared.
But he's scared all the fucking time.
But listen, we
Scared just walking in here.
I train a couple of jiu-jitsu guys and very high level guys, and they're telling me about like black belts. They're like, they're nervous, they're afraid to come. I'm like, dude, you're a black belt. Like you could break somebody's arm like in a fraction of a second.
You're a weapon.
So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna change the name, make it to CrossFit Manasquan, start getting the people in here more. But the original affiliate was at the other location, right? The smaller location, and
Because you own 2 gyms.
I own 2 gyms. So this is a funny story. Is when I did my level 1 cert, it was at the Quantico Marine Base in Quantico, Virginia, and the military base. It was amazing. And back then was like Tony Budding was doing the media, and he was also teaching. So he'd be like doing like media with you, like sweating, and then in between he's like showing you how to do the snatch with like the PVC pipe. And I remember he interviewed me because I reached out to them a year before. I was training people out of the garage, out of the first house that my wife and I bought. And during the interview, he's like, so I remember you reached out to me like a year ago and you were asking us about affiliation. He's like, what? Like, why did you hold off? I was like, well, I didn't want to affiliate until I was in an actual gym. I was like, because I was training people out of my house. And I was like, I don't know if you guys know, but that shit's illegal. And I was afraid if I ever got arrested that I would bring CrossFit down with me. So Tony's like, nah, man, you would have been all right. And what's so interesting is like after that is when I started seeing a lot of people, you know, just affiliating in their small garages, residential neighborhoods. But I knew that shit was, I wasn't supposed to do that. So the way it would work is when I started training athletes out of that garage, I would tell the parents, I'd be like, this is how it works. You don't knock on the door. So we would train at 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, whatever the hour was. I was like, you pull up in front of the house. You wait to see the garage door open. You let your son out of the car. When he goes, you don't go. There was no parents allowed in the garage. So it was like kids would like walk up the driveway, garage opens, kid goes in the garage door closes. Now, like I think
No one saw nothing.
Dude, you make a great drug dealer.
now that I think about that,
I'm not
I'm
supposed
like,
to be doing this. But
if I was a parent, like now that I'm really thinking about that, I'd be like, damn, what the fuck is going on in here? And,
But like, it's just
we
phenomenal.
had
It's
creeper,
what,
man.
It's what
kids.
this gym is. It's what actually on a wide scale. You can hear how hardcore it is here.
That's the
fucking
train right out
trucks and
back.
shit, man.
Yeah.
Hardcore motor shit.
Your gym's near a train station.
But what I
Right
like,
there.
yeah.
Tracks.
Tracks.
That's hardcore.
What I like about this place, what you've built, this underground movement is bottom up. CrossFit's bottom up, meaning like no one started with a bunch and organized something in a complicated way. It was all some guy had an idea, and all he had was a barbell in a garage, and he did it. Is it perfect? It's always up to code and shit. Not in the original CrossFit Memphis, it wasn't. You got what you got,
way.
and you make something out of it. You don't wait for perfection. You don't wait for somebody to give you all the permission you need. You take what you got in the spark, and you make whatever you can do happen with what you got. It's like fucking, and it organizes itself in a beautiful way. You can never plan this shit, really.
No, I feel way more at home when things are imperfect, not planned. Like, I mean, there's things obviously planned, but I actually don't. I'm like a more of a like a proponent of just getting shit done, speed. Like, I don't like perfection. So actually, when I was training them out of the garage, like a reason why I actually didn't have the reason why we started using like sandbags, kegs, and all that stuff is because back then there was no Rogue. And if you wanted to buy a barbell, like it was
a lot of money,
it was so much money. And also, I didn't have money. I was like getting myself out of debt. And I remember saying to myself, well, shit, dude, if I can't buy these things, and anybody back then when I started, really, like, there weren't, like, CrossFit gyms, when they were going on, they were small. They were like the other one that I have up in Edison.
They weren't these modern, amazing, perfected boxes you're seeing now.
Right.
There wasn't somebody came in and like matched all the branding. Like oh, we're gonna have these colors here. It was like,
dude, no.
Let's try to make it not as dirty so no one gets sick. We don't want anyone to get malaria in here.
we have a mosquito problem in our gym. I miss those days a little bit.
I miss
Memphis
all
malaria
this.
mosquito.
I'm like a nostalgic guy. I miss the days of getting the CrossFit Journal as a PDF once a month. Like, to me, like, I love that stuff. And I remember they actually had articles of guys like sandbags, flipping tires, there was a lot of like garages. That's what actually, when I was would go on the CrossFit forum, that's what would actually fire me up, is I was connecting with everybody that had a gym in their garage or in their backyard. So I remember, like, I was like, damn, look at that dude. He just set up like all those like pull-up rigs in his backyard. He's got like a mountain bike hanging on his wall. They set up pull-up bars all around, and that's what started getting me
authentic, and it's like it carries a certain realism. It's like, this is somebody's going for what they want, and they're not making excuses and shit.
Well, you have what you need.
Yeah.
You're building the equipment around how you want to train, not walking into a gym and saying you need this equipment and then like just using it out of obligation.
They were like, this is just gonna, they were like, this is gonna be place of like doing work. Like, you could see that stuff. And what was interesting is, there was that, and then there was like the other realm. Do you guys remember like the functional training craze? Like, any book that was out, what was they're like, people be like standing on like a wobble board and like turning to the side holding a medicine ball.
Like stupid shit the NSCA would send out to you.
Yes, everything you had to do was
Catalogs.
like on one leg, on one foot, like it's just like everything, like cable chop, do all this shit. And I remember I actually was like, in the beginning, it kind of like messed with my head, because I was like, I think I have to go this route. I have to like put on the collared shirt. And I remember like having wobble, whatever those fucking things are, wobble boards, wobble discs. I don't even know what they are. But I remember like saying to myself, I was like, damn, dude, this shit is fucking fake. Like, this is
what
a
it reminds me of, dude?
This is bull. I was like, this is bullshit.
We were in an NSA talk with Dr. Mike Stone one time. You might have been in there, Doug. He was asked how strong is strong enough. He's like, and about these special exercises and stuff, he goes, well, I would argue that that's sort of, for most people, like, that's the stupidest question in history. Like, most people could get a lot stronger. And he goes, yeah, and things like what you're describing, chops and wobbles, like, I guess it's okay. That's kind of when he used to say shit like, these little dumbbells are great if you take it and throw it as fucking far as you can. Then you get a training effect. But that's like, and a guy walked out of that talk after Stone says something like, well, if you can like snatch 300-400 pounds, there's not a lot of need for stability training and shit, is there? And this guy walks and goes, yeah, I heard what you're saying about this fucking bullshit. You gotta do those chops and twists, man. This fucking guy who's like 185 pounds, some guy prescribing to that idea, like, well, you gotta twist and chop. Yeah, you can snatch 300 pounds, but that's fuck, man, we gotta do this gimmick shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
I remember
Like,
my mind was blown by that.
I don't know how like this like that like I don't know how it like came in and like duped us all. And you know what's weird is like when you see it like all around, at least for me, it did fuck with my head because I was like, I'm this outsider. There was like, you know, people making fun of me. They're like, look at this guy. He's a fucking idiot. He's training these kids with like sandbags. We were carrying around tree logs because the house had
Stability.
an old dude. Yeah, that was stability.
Like throwing a deer over your shoulder and walking with it. That's your core stability.
The house had this old cherry tree. We had to cut it down. My wife's cousin, he cut the tree down, then he cut it in half. We had a 5 and a 4 foot log. And I remember carrying it around the backyard. And like, dude, I never felt such core stability ever. I was like, holy
You're
shit.
probably smiling so fucking wild, having a good time doing it.
I was so fired up. The first climbing rope that I hung up in the back was that that rope that you see at Home Depot. It's got like it's for tow trucks. It's like a yellow and don't touch my mic, man.
This mic's hot, yo. Yeah.
Where's security? Dude, so I threw that rope. I like had to take a chain and attach it and try to sling it over the tree branch. And I remember like for like 30 minutes I'm throwing that thing. I almost lost my fucking eye like throwing that thing over. And we used to just train those guys in the backyard, train them at like a field. And what happened one time was I saw like an undercover cop car down at the elementary school. We'd go there, we'd train 5, 6 o'clock, so nothing was going on there. Those cops would go down there, take a little break. I was down there training these kids. They were like sprinting up one hill, pushing my truck across, dragging sleds. And then I see the cop car roll up with the tinted windows. And I had this like flash of like looking into the future of like, oh shit, man, these kids are going to see me like get arrested here. These somebody like called the cops on us. These cops are going to like
You come across after talking to you a little bit as a very paranoid person. You worried a lot about like some
I think because back then everybody I spoke to already had a gym. They had like this professional setup, and here I was. I didn't have anybody that I could connect to that was truly running a business from their house.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have any.
You feel like you're on an island. It's kind of a scary time.
Everybody was like, you can't do that shit. You'll get shut down. Your neighbors will complain. They'll do this. And I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to not let my neighbors complain. So when I would mow the lawn, I would like mow the lawn all the way like past
mow some of their lawn too.
Oh, dude, I'd mow their lawn. If it was like snowing out, I was fucking outside at like 5 a.m. snow blowing this house, that house. I did everything I could to try to keep the peace. So I was legitimately, because everybody around me saying, you're going to get arrested. That shit's illegal.
That probably ended up loving you, didn't
Can't believe everyone was so concerned
Holy
about
shit,
it.
our neighbors.
Who cares?
Our neighbor Zach's this great guy.
Is that like a Jersey thing? People just getting arrested for doing normal things?
Those guys are exercising in his garage.
Yeah.
Whoa, let's go.
This shit can't be up to code.
Yeah, I'll fix you.
But meanwhile, no one ever gave you shit, though, really. I mean, it was the fear. We say it's fair to say that people, when they do something like that, it's very natural to go, well, I feel a lot of fear. I'm leaving a sure thing. I'm starting something in a new way. No one else is trying to do this shit in the garage. These people got money. They got facilities.
You
what
quit
I'm
being
doing,
a school teacher with an income.
Yeah, so what happened was we bought this house, and this was a fixer-upper. Yeah. So I think it was I was like a 5th year teacher, or maybe going into my 6th year. So I taught for 11 years. And we couldn't live in the house for a year. So the first thing I did was I used my money, and we had the contractors fix the 2-car garage. They sheetrocked it. Then they're like, oh shit, that sheetrock's no good. We have to do like fireproof sheetrock for code. I'm like, code, motherfuckers? I'm like, this shit's illegal. Like I don't even have the money to pay you for more sheetrock. I got all this equipment from eBay, classified ads. So I was training out of that garage for a couple of years, and I was teaching. So I would teach, come home, then I would train athletes just a couple times a week, 1, 2, maybe 3 hours a day. I would train them at any time on the weekend that they wanted to. In the summertime, we had people coming from like all over New Jersey, and I would train them at any time. Oh, you want to roll up at like on Wednesday at like 2 o'clock? Fine. Oh, Sunday at 10 a.m.? Fine. I did it at any time. When that like garage grew, I finally segued into the place up in Edison, which was actually it was a part of the gym that's next door. Mm-hmm. And to make a long story short, the gym next door was kind of known as a hardcore place. A gym up the street opened up. It was a little bit more posh. They got nervous. They acquired that little building that I'm in, they started doing like karate, fitness, stuff like that.
They let go of what was them.
They let go of what was them. So what do you think happened to that business? Boom, it went down. It failed. So they started having fucking poker games in there. So when I went to check it out, I was telling the guy who ran the gym, I was like, well, I'm training all those people in my garage. He's like, oh, I got this space next door. Let me show it to you. I go in. The windows are tinted out. There's fucking poker and blackjack tables everywhere. And I'm like, oh, this place is huge, you know, compared to my garage. So it actually took me like a year of visiting that little space a couple of times. Like I think I went into it like 2 to 3 times, and I'd look at it like this.
In awe of it, like
in awe.
I don't know if I could ever have a place as cool as this, like
or as big as this, or oh shit, I'm gonna have to pay rent. I gotta, you know, this month, all this stuff. Like it was so
if
foreign.
I could only get some money now.
If I could get some dollar bills, baby. and then finally, I remember saying to myself, like, damn, fuck it, it's time to go. Because you know what happened is when I made that transition, Alan Cosgrove's like, okay, you're a world-renowned strength coach, right? Everybody around the world knows about you. He's like, but nobody in your like. He's like, yeah, the kids in your area know about you. He's like, but how big time are you in that garage? I was like, oh, it's like that.
I was challenge me.
That was the honest truth, though.
Dude, that was the honest truth. And then I remember I did say to myself, I was like, I remember reading an article about Dan John on T-Nation. Dan John's like, I train in my garage and it's frozen and I do clean and press. How's that for functional training? So I said to Cosgrove, I go, Dan John trains in his garage. He's big time. And then Cosgrove goes, he just says the question again. He's like, how big time are you? He's like, you're going to be training out of your garage. So I went to the dude who owned the gym, and I said, look, man, I'll rent the gym. What's the price? I think he wanted like $1,500. That's what he was paying. Yeah. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to do $1,500. Can you like make this, like give me like the first few months a little bit cheaper? He dropped it to like $1,350. So what I did was training out of the garage. I was like, I set like just a plain goal. I said I have to double my rent. So my rent was going to be $1,350. I started telling the dudes that I train, I was like, yo, man, all of your friends that are fucking hardcore, I was like, don't be sending me no pussies. I was like, I want to start training some real dudes, man. So I like kicked in like this simple like referral system. They started bringing their friends. We had like 20-something kids training out of the garage. And this is the way it worked. At like 4 o'clock, first group. And then the kids would drive for the 5 o'clock. Suddenly my street had like cars parked out front, cars parked across the street. 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, there's like 15 kids roaming the streets with their shirts off, like
grunting and yelling, and dragging metal shit
like
everywhere.
Finishing their workout, 180 pounds, all ripped up. And I remember like looking up in the bay window, and I saw my wife staring out the window, and like I like could read her mind, like, okay, like it's time for you to like take that step. But she didn't like say nothing, but I just remember her seeing like this like large group of kids outside, and I was like, it's time to go and make that step. So when I eventually quit my teaching job, I think I had the Edison gym for, I'm trying to think how many years. I was working the gym while teaching. So I would go to school, and then I'd go right to the gym, and I'd run that, and then I'd train myself. I wouldn't leave till like 9 o'clock at night.
And you realized that wasn't sustainable, that life. Right?
My final year of teaching, before I took a 1-year leave and then I actually just resigned, was like I was so beat up. My back was always getting messed up. Like I just was exhausted, and I would wake up an hour before everybody else woke up so I could like work on the internet. I had the internet stuff, and then everybody, like I was telling you guys in Miami, I'd wake up and my wife and my daughter were asleep, and then I'd come home and they were asleep. So they'd wake up like right after I left, and they'd go to bed before I got home. And the only thing I wanted to do is like eat breakfast with I wanted to make breakfast and eat breakfast with my family. That was like the one thing that just, that's all I wanted.
That story you fucking told in Miami, at that point you're like, I'm getting to a point where everything is sort of manifesting around this new thing I've got going, and it's coming together, and you can't quite let go of that space where you're trying to do it all.
Yeah.
You told that story over breakfast. I go, no, I guess the one that really got me was you talked about how you had that conversation, like one day if I give advice to my daughter about what she should do, and you go, who would I be? How would I feel if I said, go for what you want? She goes, well, who the fuck are you? You never went for what you want. You never made that decision.
Like
you let us rush out the door every morning without breakfast. Or you cooked it and rushed it and you didn't enjoy that time. Like that kind of that struck me right down in the deepest part of me. I go, fuck, I'm not gonna let that happen.
Dude, it was like a nightmare to me. What I was thinking was like, for when my daughter was born, it was just like anybody who's like a parent, like you can't really put it into words. But what I was always like thinking to myself was like, this girl's gonna be something amazing. She's gonna be amazing, and I want to be able to almost like how do you say, like kind of like lead the way. Like I can't like she will never like trust my word. So I like had this like nightmare if I said if she's like, Daddy, I think I want to like whatever be on Broadway. I'm gonna move to California. I'm gonna whatever it is, and they'd be like, yes, that's what you should do, and you should do this. And then she like cuts me off, and she say like who the fuck are you? Like, you grew up in this town, you worked in this town, you still work in this town, you dared nothing. And that was like,
no risks taken.
Yeah, she's like, you didn't, and you know what's so funny is that anybody, like when I was teaching, that I would like give them the idea to like keep this job, try to keep it part-time, the pension, they're like, yo, the pension, the benefits, this and that. And I started saying to myself, really? So I'm gonna fucking go to the grave and I'm gonna be like, yeah, I stuck it out for 30 years because I wanted this pension. And I just to me, anything I read about somebody doing something great took a risk. And the one,
they didn't have a pension.
Dude, they didn't have a pension.
Everybody feels that paralysis, feel like, holy fuck, what am I about to do? And the people who get what they want go, I'm going for it, man.
Yeah, anyone who does anything great, they don't go, wow, I'm glad I had that 401k after I did all that cool shit.
It reminds me of getting a fucking gym's call. Like, if you, like, people wish, like, well, if situation was better, if the time was right, I could do that, I could be that.
There's
And
no
you
right
fucking
time.
wouldn't.
There's no such thing as
If I could
right
just,
time.
If I could just train full time, I'd be so strong. No, you're weak because you're weak. You're unsuccessful because you're unsuccessful. You're not driven because you're not driven. Like, that's who you are.
It's
like more optimal would make you more of what you are.
Listen, but if you look at like what we've been trained to do, at like people our age, 30s and older, is we've been trained to really be like just followers, like to. You go to school, you get the job, you do your career, like you are trained. Nobody
You've been lied to.
Yeah, nobody ever said to you like, yo, man. No teacher ever said to me, yo, you know what, man? Fucking, you should do something awesome. You're gonna be awesome at whatever you do. I was not pegged to be more. I'll never forget my guidance counselor. Like after I took the SAT 3 times, he's like, he says to me, he's like, maybe.
So 3 times is the max times you can make it before it starts looking bad.
Check it out. Yo, the first 2 times I took it, I scored 840, and the difference was like 10 points, which is it was like a 10-point change in the verbal and the math. And I was like, damn, I think they sent me like last time's scores. And then I look at it and I was like, oh, 10-point difference. I fucking did the same exact thing. My guidance counselor's like, he's like, maybe college isn't for you. And
have you considered majoring in shoveling?
Yeah, well, I think and I look back at like all that shit, and that was like the beginning of the beginning of kind of like, I don't know how you say, like the people trying to like hold you down. Everybody's trying to make you
fucking man,
dude.
Zach.
The fucking man trying to hold you down. Everybody's trying to get everybody to conform, to be the same, because if you dare go outside the lines of quote unquote normal, like you're already seen as the enemy. And now that I've been doing things that really aren't,
you make people look at themselves and go, I'm not doing that.
I
feel like I should. I don't have the nerve to fucking do it. You get a projection.
I don't know what it. I don't really know what it is, and trust me, even today, there's still times or sometimes I'm like, damn, this shit is a grind. This shit's fucking hard. It would be so easy to like punch the clock, wake up, know I got the weekends off, all that shit. But then I think of like, you know, little things like, you know, a quote that I've heard Joe Vitale say. He's like, dare something great or dare something worthy. Or I think about like books. Sometimes I don't even read the book. I could just look at the title of a book, or I could read a chapter. And I remember one book that, you know, that like really pushed me was the guy that created Survivor, and he created like all those other shows. I think the name of the book is called like Make the Jump. And he was like talking about how anytime he did something great, like when he did Survivor, he like bought like this fucking all this like land and all this shit. It was like millions upon millions. No guarantee
that model would
he
work.
He lost all that money, and he was just like, fuck it, I'm doing it again anyway. I'm not gonna do this thing again. I was like, damn, this dude has balls. And that's when I started saying, okay, you know, now I started like being more like strategic about leaving teaching. So I started saying, okay, here's how much money I make. Here's how much money I need to replace to take care of not just the money that I'm making, but all the health benefits, this, that. Then it started becoming a game because I was working my business part-time, right? I would work on the internet an hour before school. I also worked on every lunch break. So when all the other teachers would go out to eat, I fucking like went and sat at a desk that faced the cement wall and just would do blog posts and all this stuff. I would go to the playground.
Grinding.
I would go to the playground and I'd tell one of the teachers.
These are the same people, like if you do really well, like 5 years down the road,
Yeah.
go, man, he got so lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what? No, there was no luck involved there.
Yo, man, this guy's an overnight success story. For the
that doesn't exist, does it, man?
For the past 10 years, he's an overnight success story. So everybody would go out to eat. I would just friggin' work. I remember like using my teaching salary to pay a fucking web designer. I'll never forget this dude. He was designing websites in the fitness industry, and because he was like the guy, it just kept getting more and more expensive. And I'll never forget like spending an entire 2-week paycheck for him.
Do we know who this guy is?
I don't know. I don't think you guys know who he is. I fucking spent my entire paycheck. It must have been like just shy of $2,000 to get a website built. It's like, holy fuck.
What year is that, by the way?
This was figure. Let's see. It's 2014. I'm like, everything's a blur. Let me just try to think back, because I may not have been in my gym, so it may have been about 8 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say at that time
there was no WordPress blogs.
Figuring out how to fucking make a website work.
Everybody's like, "Yo, you got to figure out Dreamweaver." Remember that shit? I'm like,
I remember Dreamweaver.
I had that. So
you
I
did
had
animated flash and music intro to your website, bro.
You had to take classes for that. So I had a blog spot. I paid this guy my whole paycheck, and I was like, "Oh my god." I was using like my teacher salary to fucking like support the business to get that shit done. So
we've all been there.
It just like today I really think it's so much easier to but if you didn't come from like back then, it's just different. Like back in the day, if I wanted to speak to somebody, let's say I wanted to speak to you guys, there's no podcast. I'd have to pay for you to like get email time with you, and I did all of that shit. I was putting out so much money. I remember every time I used the sick day at school was to go to like a business seminar.
Exactly, man.
Dude, there was no such thing as a sick days. I was like, if I was legitimately sick, I showed up. My sick days were to go to like conferences and shit.
Yeah.
Conferences. So when I did like say I'm gonna make this transition full-time business, I just looked at all the numbers, and like I said, I knew it wasn't gonna be perfect. And I was fine with that because I was so used to imperfection with the gym and not having the real barbells, not having the fancy equipment. But I just knew I couldn't fucking fail. I was like, I remember saying to myself, I'm like, I'm the fucking Navy SEAL of strength coaches. I was like, I was like, yeah, I like can't fucking like be stopped.
Not even entertain the thought of it.
Dude, exactly. There was like, everybody's like, oh, what if this happens? I was like, dude, there ain't no way I'm fucking going down. Like, I can't lose. Like, I'm going to build this gym. I'm going to change the culture. I'm going to fucking change these kids. People are like, you can't train wrestlers. That's a poor man's sport. You can't train athletes. They don't want to work hard, this and that. Everybody told me, fucking, you can't do this. You can't do that. And all I ever wanted to do was be like, fuck you, man. I think I just contained it and like
two
put it
things
into
I've realized, dude. And it seems like everybody feels this. One, you start seeing fear in people, and you feel it yourself, and you realize this is not a bad thing. I go, fear, I've come to say, fear is what makes you more alive and more sharp and less numb and more ready to fucking live
You learn
your life.
to harness it.
Your whole history of being a human being, as far back as it was, like fear and being on the edge and being out on that risky plane. If you're not necessarily so much at risk because you're thinking it through, you're working hard to know what you're doing, but that's where you're most alive. The comfortable path is the most unhuman fucking thing, the most numbing, stripping thing you can possibly do. Going for the sure fucking bet will remove your humanity.
That shit though.
Yeah.
Some people, I can't relate. Some people love that. Some people love to know that they're fucking going home, watching TV, eating chips, and to me,
they got a mask on, man.
Dude, like the routine and their stability.
Yeah.
It's the Matrix. They're plugging back in. Ignorance is bliss.
You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be mentally tough. You have to be ready for the grind. You know, like I tell people, think that like when they see all the stuff I have going on, they think like everything's easy. Like even growing this gym comes with its challenges. Like we get no foot traffic. We also like
we had to like drive back like almost like into an alley, and it's next to an auto shop.
It's like West Side Barbell.
We're hidden in here.
Yeah, so there's machine shops, garages, all that shit. So
finding the front door is hard.
Finding this place it's tough. If I had the foot traffic, that would be easy. And you know what? It's like you just always have to just like find a way. It's like, okay, another imperfect opportunity to just kick some more ass.
Don't people wait too fucking long for everything to be right?
It's too late.
Because you wait, you've already missed everything. What makes you need to act on now, even if it's for 30 minutes in your lunch break. If you're not willing to do that, you can't have anything else.
Dude, there was no such thing as a lunch break when I was teaching. It was fucking eat and work.
Yeah, I was gonna say at one point you finally made the leap and you were growing and growing and growing, and you're thinking like, I need to make enough money to survive. And you kind of, at one point, started getting off of your path and doing things that you were supposed to do and taking people's advice.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't really your passion, and you were getting away from like who you really wanted to be in this industry. And then finally you're just like, fuck, no, I'm not doing any of that shit anymore. And you just cut it off. Can you talk about the whole transition, how that happened?
Yeah, so it's like it comes full circle. It happens like several times. Like even in this gym, people were telling me like, you're gonna have to like get used to the kids down here. They're down by the beach. Everybody's just chilling out. You know, nobody's in a rush. This and that. And I was like, maybe I do need to be a little bit like easier on everybody. Maybe like I don't have to be so tough on them. And then every time I try to like mute my inner fucking voice of whatever it is, I feel it in my stomach just when I talk about it. And then the business starts to fucking slip. But as soon as I start fucking pushing people the way I truly believe that people are capable of doing, because it'll help them become great, then it's like I get that text message from the parent like, this is his best year ever, his strength is showing, or the father, or like, you know, like it just brings tears to their eyes, like the things that like these kids go through. And every time I like try to like be a little bit like, you know, more mainstream, let me like fit in with everybody, what's everybody else doing, let me, you know, all that stuff. Anytime I move towards a direction outside of like what I'm about, it's like it just doesn't work, you know. Not just from a financial standpoint, but just from like peace of mind. I can't like even sleep. So even, you know, like I'm saying here, like I just, you know, people are like, you have too much expectation. You care too much. Well, you know, hey man, don't text message that kid. Don't text message him. So what? Maybe he's busy. I was like, dude, he ain't fucking busy. He needs to be here training. Fucking hasn't been here for 3 weeks. And then I tell him straight up, I go, yo guys, I wouldn't be text messaging you guys to show up if I didn't give a shit. I was like, get into this gym. I was like, I don't want to be working with you when it's crunch time, because I know, look, like I'm 38. I remember like being 16 like it was 2 minutes ago. And like you were talking about time going too fast. I don't want these kids fucking hanging out in these bars when they're 40 saying, oh man, I should have done that. I could have done that. I want them, like, if they do go into that bars, I want them to be able to like walk proud and just be like, you know what, man, I fucking busted my ass in that gym behind that railroad tracks.
I deserve the scotch.
Yeah, I deserve the scotch.
This is the scotch I deserve.
Yeah, hit me with that Jameson, baby. See, I'm talking some of that Irish liquor, baby.
There you go. All right, we're gonna take a break real quick. When we come back, we're gonna find out what magic magnet necklace you wear for success.
Welcome back to Technique Wad. Today we're going to talk about transitioning from the first pull to the second pull on the snatch. My name is Doug Larson. This is Alex Macklin. He's one of our Faction and Barbell Shrugged weightlifting coaches, and he's also one of the coaches in the 6-month Muscle Gain Challenge. Today we're going to cover how to transition from the first pull into the power position so you can start the second pull of the snatch. Gives you the best leverage possible so you can lift the most weight possible. So first, Alex is going to demo one snatch for you just so you can see what we're talking about. There you go. All right, first thing, we're going to have Alex demonstrate what the transition is supposed to look like. This is all said with the assumption that he's going to have a good starting position, a good first pull. That way when he goes into his transition, he's in a good position to start with. So go ahead and do kind of a slow motion first pull and transition. Good starting position right here. First pull off the floor. Once he starts pushing his knees under the bar, that's when the transition starts. So he finishes his transition with the bar right on his hips. Good, go and take a break. So again, we already have videos for the starting position and for the first pull. Right now we're covering just the transition specifically. So go ahead and finish your first pull and then show just the transition. So we'll pause you at the very beginning and end of the transition and exaggerate it a little bit just so everyone can see exactly what we're looking at. So first pull, pauses right there. So that's the end of the first pull. He's going to transition from there basically to the end of the transition where, again, the bar is touching him right on the crease of his hips. This position here is the power position. That's where he is the strongest, and he's going to be able to get a triple extension, ankles, knees, and hips. He's going to extend all the way and then eventually shrug himself underneath the weight and catch the bar overhead in the case of the snatch. So that's how to do it correctly. what we're going to do right now is we're going to go through each piece of that. We're going to show you the correct way to do it and one of the common errors or mistakes that people make for each little piece. So what happens oftentimes is that people will cut their first pull off too early. So if he actually backs up a little bit, go ahead and go down a tiny bit. He cuts his first pull off a little bit early and goes to transition, and then he bangs the bar into his thigh where it's connecting and disconnecting off of his thigh and not off of his hips. So bang it off your thigh. There you go. So you can see there, the bar is hitting him in the middle of the thigh and it's not hitting him on his hips. And in that case, two things will happen. Number one, the weight's going to feel heavier because his leverage is worse than it would be if it was hitting him on his hips. And number two, if I'm here and the bar should be hitting me here, and now it's hitting me here instead, well, it's about 3 or 4 inches more forward. So I'm going to miss the lift in front of me because I'm bouncing it off a position that's further out in front of me. You can see here versus my knee, well, that's, I don't know, 8 or 10 inches. If I bounce it off here, then the bar's going to come up right here. Then I'm going to have to go out and chase it, and then I'm going to miss it out in front of me. So you want to finish your first pull. You want a very long first pull. Basically, you want to keep your first pull position covering the bar, bent over as long as you can, and then the last second you shift into that power position. Okay? Go ahead and show a good one again, where you're not banging it off your thighs. You're banging it off right where your hips bend, right in the crease of your hip. So good first pull, and then it comes right up into his hip. Again, look where the bar connects and disconnects, right on his hip. There you go, beautiful. All right, point number 2. We talked about in the first pull video, we talked about rocking towards your heels throughout the entire first pull. So if he's here, he's very heel heavy, and as he goes to transition, he wants to stay heel heavy. Okay? A common error, and actually go ahead and pull and lose the weight out in front of you. A common error is if you don't rock towards your heels enough, and then you try to transition, some people will go like this. They'll stand and then they'll go like that. And as they push their knees under the bar, their heels come off the ground, and then the bar bangs off their thighs, and they lose the lift out in front of them. So do a bad one and lose the lift out in front of you. There you go. So that wasn't even that bad. Do it worse. There you go. So you can see as he's going through his first pull, his weight is coming onto the ball of his foot. As he stands, he's coming out here, and then when he goes to transition, everything's falling forward. Okay? He's gonna miss the lift out in front of him. So one more time, slow motion, rock towards your heels, transition, and when that bar connects your hips, you should be very heel heavy with that vertical torso. There you go, beautiful. So here, just to exaggerate that point about pushing your knees under the bar and getting to a vertical torso, see if I can not hit my mic. If I'm here and I stand to my first pull, right here, once I pass my knees, then I can start shoving my knees underneath the bar. That's a bit of an exaggeration. A little bit faster. I'm here, I'm in a good start position, hips are down, arms are straight, shoulders are back. I come off the floor, start rocking towards my heels, and then once I pass my knee, I shove my knees under the bar, shoulders are still back, I have a vertical torso, and my heels are down, and I'm very heel heavy. Okay? All right, so last point. In the first pull video, a separate video from this one, we talked about going very slow off the floor, slow enough where you can get into a perfect transition, a perfect second pull position. So what we want to do is go slow enough off the ground to stay in that perfect position, but then once we get to the transition, assuming again we're in a good position to transition, we want to speed up and go very explosive for the whole rest of the movement. So if you go slow off the ground, once he passes the knees and the bar's coming towards his hips, he's going to explode and speed up. So slow and then fast. There you go. Slow and fast. There you go. We've done a lot of half partial movements. Go and do another full snatch so they can see that. So you see you slow off the ground, maybe even go extra slow off the ground, and then explode once you get to mid-thigh. There you go, beautiful. So if you can't snatch just like that, slow off the ground, and then once you pass your knee and the bar starts to get to mid-thigh, then you can explode and pull a fast movement still. If you can't do it like that, then your technique probably isn't on point. If you have to go fast off the floor to complete the movement, then your snatch is probably not perfect quite yet. So that's it for the transition. We're going to come back and we're going to do another video on the second pull. Right now we have a starting position, first pull, transition. We're going to have a second pull and a catch video for the snatch, and then we also have a big overview video. So if you want to check out those videos, go to barbellshrugged.com and click on Technique Quad, and you can watch those in the video library on the site.
Oh, and we're back here with Zach Even-Esh here at Underground Strength in Manasquan, New Jersey.
This shit's hardcore, son.
This gym is awesome, and it's not a typical CrossFit gym. You're training high school athletes. Most CrossFit gyms really don't even go after high school athletes. They're training mostly average Joes, people who have professional lives and are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, up to 80, maybe 90. I don't know. But you focus. I mean, you don't have like the big rogue rig running across the gym. You're not running classes of 20 people. How do you run your classes here? And it's obviously different.
It's definitely it's more complicated, more complex. Like, because when you got the high school kids, number one, their schedule is very fickle. You got the in season, you got the off season. You're working around when mom and dad could get them here. If mom and dad have like kids at different schools, like the middle school, the elementary school, they're driving all around. So the scheduling stuff it sucks. And also, what makes it even more crazy is like, you guys were hanging out with the Wodify guys yesterday. Of all these like gym management softwares, kids today don't even have email. They don't even have an email address. So like they can't log into shit. They have Facebook. They have Instagram. They don't.
They have an email, they just don't know how to check it.
They don't even know. Yeah, they're like,
they don't give a shit.
They're like, I don't know if I have an email. So they communicate through text messaging. So it's a very different way to communicate.
I've got one high school kid who like it's weird how like he doesn't use certain pieces of technology, but he uses others.
Right.
I'm like, you don't use Twitter, but use the shit out of Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, no, Twitter's for old people. I'm like,
that was news to me about the email addresses. I just figured everyone had one.
Dude, they don't have
to sign up for services, but I think that's all they're using it for.
They probably don't have it until they're like forced to have it when they get like a college email. So in a nutshell, we do small groups, and we do.
They have email addresses. They're just not giving.
They don't even know. Yeah, they don't even know how to like.
This guy's gonna spam me.
They don't even know how to. They're like, I have an email, but
it's only for dick pics. That's only where I send my dick pics to.
We tell them all the time when they're like, we're like, they're like, yeah, it's right. I'm like, don't be watching all that porn, man, and your phone ain't gonna be messed up. They're like, I'm like, don't even.
Coach, I never. Shut up, man. Come on, man.
You guys are advanced. I know you know what's going on the internet. But in a nutshell, we do small groups. In a perfect world, we'd break it down and say, okay, this will be, the time where the middle school athletes come in. This is the time where the high school guys come in. But that shit never works. So you need to have you have to have like mental agility as far as coaching. Mm-hmm. You'll be in here and you'll see kids doing back squats. Other kids will be doing kettlebell goblet squats. Somebody else will be doing trap bar deadlift. Maybe, this kid trains 3 times a week. This other kid hasn't been here at all last week. He's only here once a week. So if he's only here once a week, then he's not going to be following, the program that the other kid's on. So in a nutshell, everybody gets what they need. And that actually makes it very challenging to run the business. But I'm going to tell you this, that's the right thing to do. Because if whatever, today's Friday, hey, everybody who shows up on Friday, this is the workout that we're doing. It just doesn't
max out Friday.
Max out Friday.
Well, today's especially a tense day. Then
max out Friday is something that I picked up from Travis Mash and the kids. It definitely changed the culture in here with getting them to, because on Fridays is really a quiet day. Why? Because when you train athletes, when do they compete? Friday night, Saturday morning, so everybody's like trying to go easy or they're not even in here. But in a nutshell, it's small groups, and I put up training cycles, probably like say highly influenced from more of like a West Side Barbell type style of training. Focus on work capacity, focus on strength, focus on power. These kids got to put on muscle, so they're not going to go through like a typical CrossFit workout where they're always doing Metcons. Right. I tell people, like, you could never overestimate how weak athletes are going to be. I'm talking kids like varsity athletes will be rolling up here, can't do one pull up, can't do a good body weight squat, which is like saying, yo, Holmes, you can't even sit on. I just almost made out with that microphone. I got a little too close to that.
You actually just wrote an article about that, right? Someone who came in with a big strength background but couldn't do some bodyweight stuff.
So he was so strong. He was actually going into college.
Yeah.
He was. I remember he would box squat 405. He could floor press 315. He would trap bar deadlift 495, but he couldn't do our warm up. He couldn't like hop on one foot. He couldn't do. He couldn't do push ups.
Dude, it
on
sounds
the floor.
like he needed a Bozu ball.
Dude. Right. And then as soon as I incorporated the crossbody wood cable chop, it fixed
Everything felt better.
It fixed everything. But this is what happens.
Most CrossFitters don't know what that is.
No.
Yeah, it's true. They're like, they don't know what the heck we're talking about with that shit. We'll have to post a photo. But what happens is also being an independent strength coach, you don't really get a lot of cooperation from the athletic coaches. You know, people think that you could just call up like the local football coach or the local anybody coach, and they don't want to hear from you.
They get jealous, man.
They get jealous. It's a lot of ego stuff. Here and there, you have a coach, when they see what you do, they like fall in line with it. They support you full blown. They're just, but that is a very rare. It happens. I have some of those coaches. It is so rare that it makes it tough, and it could drive you to the point where you're like, damn, dude, like, you're like, what the hell? I'm just trying to like help these kids. You know, I don't look at it as helping these kids, because what they learn when they train here is so life changing. And me as a former teacher, you know, when I was teaching at I taught at an elementary school, and the high school football team was going on a 4-year losing streak. They lost 36 games in a row. I remember I was telling...
Just stop the program.
Dude, I was like, I told them, I said, guys, get me into that weight room. Like, get me into that weight room. Let me work with these kids. For years, I worked in that town for over a decade, and they never put me in there. Eventually, the athletic director said... he goes, why don't we do this as a CEU? Like, teachers have to get 20 hours of continuing education. I said, no. I said, I'm not fucking doing 2 hours so somebody could fulfill like their continuing like education credits. I was like, we got kids that are graduating high school that never won a football game in their life. I was like, that kid ain't never going to forget that. And that's when I started really getting fired up, saying, because the motto of that school was like nothing less than excellence, and that's also what led me to leave. Dude, that fucking
what the fuck are you guys talking about?
That shit's fraud.
Yeah.
That's a fucking
this
fraud.
Is some bullshit you put on here to make to impress the parents and make them sign the kids
That's
up.
when I started really like getting to the point where it's like, oh, you're gonna fucking say nothing less than excellence, then like do it. Fucking live that shit. Don't be like talking about, oh, these kids are number one. These fucking kids are getting their asses handed to them every day.
They don't give a shit. That's the worst part. They don't care.
Dude,
they're letting it happen. They don't give a shit about it.
I was fucking. I get pissed when I talk about it. I get pissed when I talk about it because here's the thing.
Bro, bring it.
Bring this shit, kids. This is the problem. That when kids are weak, they lose. That's the bottom line. They lose. Who wants to fucking see a kid lose? As a parent, I don't want to see my kid getting his ass kicked. And as a coach, if you ain't the fucking like, you know, numero uno top dog at what you're doing, then find somebody else to help make it happen.
Yeah.
Period. Get better. Those kids, dude, it's a kid, man. They deserve better. And you know what's ironic is that, you know, I was telling you guys that last week there was the county wrestling tournament.
Yeah.
And it was real successful. The counties in the other gym up north, it was very successful for us. And while I watch our kids like deliver some ass whoopings, there's a part of me where I'm like, man, I feel horrible for the kid that he just like kicked the shit out of that kid. He just kicked the shit out of the kid. But then I say to myself, well, everybody has the opportunity to step up and do work. You know, you know, the parent could support. The parent could say, you know what, I'm going to go and find a way to help my kid. And that's the other thing that's tough, because not all parents, like, they could shrug it off. Some kids, if they lose, they don't care. I can't relate to that stuff. So there's like a lot of emotions tied into that, which makes it.
The people working those jobs that they're also they're just following with their
robots,
model.
Fucking robots, and I think that's what makes it. It makes it very tough to run a business that way, because you're tied into it emotionally. I mean, if you spoke to like Donald Trump and you said, said, the Trump, man, what's the number one, why am I running this business? The Trump would be like, you're running that business to make money. You wouldn't hear the Trump saying something like, you know, maybe he would, but I don't think he would say, you need to change lives. You need to change this world. I don't think he would take it that far. But you know, every day, all day, you know, I go back to when I told you guys about having dinner with a friend, and he goes, I think God put you on this earth to make kids strong. When he said that to me, I was like, damn, dude.
That sort of solidified you, like, I see what I'm doing. Like, I see it crystallizes in your brain and go, this is what I need to do. Like, it starts making sense to you.
Yeah, he saw it in me, and everybody else that I saw that was being successful was selling ebooks about six-pack abs, and their workouts were like 20 jumping jacks, 20 mountain climbers, 20 crunches. I'm like, nah. No way. But then I saw those were the same people that were making fucking $1,000 a day selling ebooks, and it fucks with your head because you're like, man, I'm telling people to squat, to deadlift, to fucking work hard, to like get in there, and people are telling me, hey man, chill out. Nobody wants to work hard. You're fucking pushing people too much. And then I started saying to myself, well, you know, you start like going down that road, like what Doug is saying, like, you know, you start losing yourself. And anytime I veer from this is the path I'm supposed to be on, I feel it in my gut. The success isn't there, and every time I go back to being who I am, that's when those emails start coming in, and they're like, "Yo, man, like, you know, I don't try to pull it up here, but some dude like sent me this email from I'm not really sure. Can I read that email?
Do whatever you want.
So
yeah.
he's from
I don't know, can you?
I'm gonna tell you what country he's from Belgrade, Serbia. And he's like, I'm receiving your emails for a year and a half now. I want to thank you for the great motivation you're providing me when I lose focus from time to time. My basic sport is BJJ since the year 2000, with lots of rises and falls since then. At the moment, I'm training BJJ 3 times a week, and my training partner and I train at the gym 3 days a week. He's like, we're crushing lots of bodyweight training, kettlebells, and fucking sledge. He didn't put sledgehammer in there. He's like, conditioning and some lifting. He's like, for me, it's mostly deadlifts and what my wife's called. He's like, for me, it's mostly deadlifts and squats. He goes, also, I love your mindset. No excuses. Always a white belt. Get out of your comfort zone. He's like, those are the perfect guidelines. Thanks.
The hashtag in that always a white belt thing. Right?
Always a white.
Yeah,
like, man. I feel like you should always be a white belt, meaning like, you know, you got to drop your ego. You should always be willing to learn. The people that aren't willing to learn is like, our program's good enough. Really? Is it good enough for kids? I would never. That's like, you know, I don't know who this thing about being good enough. Like, I would never say like, that's good enough. That's good enough for my kids. Like, fuck good enough. Like, how about fucking like now we raise the bar and everything should be fucking awesome. Or the coaches that are like, you know what? I already know how to do weightlifting. I don't need to go to this seminar. I don't need to keep getting better. When somebody says that to me, it says that we're good enough for our members. We're good enough. And to me, I don't ever think like I'm doing a good enough job. And that's maybe something I learned from wrestling. And, you know, it's, you know, whatever problems I have upstairs in my mind. But I just think that whatever you do, be fucking awesome at it. And that's not a line. I think it has to be. You gotta go all out. Like when I leave this gym coaching, I want to be tired. I want to be exhausted. I want to know I gave everybody everything I had, and I don't understand anything less than that. That's probably also why I'm like, you know, from a business standpoint, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk said, he goes, you know how you run your business? He goes, you got to run it like your second child. He goes, when I had my first daughter, he's like, I was in that room looking in that crib like every 30 seconds. Oh, she breathing, she this, she that. Then you have your second baby and you're like, all right.
She's all right.
Yeah. All right, baby crapped his pants. I'll get there in like 20 minutes. Like you got all these other things going on. You're not like freaking out about it. And he said, that's how you should run it. And I try to like chill out a little bit and not like try to make everything perfect, but it's just not me. Like I see, you know, if I'm gonna be, you know, training these kids, I'm just gonna give them the best I got. And I feel, you know, the most in my right space when I'm working with athletes. Like that's just like the only thing I understand. Like I love working with adults. I train some adult men here, and I love working with those guys. And I think the reason why I love working with them is because I took it beyond training. Like I started talking to them more about life and lifestyle and like, you know, training, be strong because you're a man, be strong as a father, be strong as a husband, take this work ethic, put it back into where you work. And it's just different. So I don't even know what tangent I fucking got off of, but usually somebody asks me like one question, it takes like 20 minutes. It takes 20 minutes for me to answer.
Just keep going.
One thing you remind me of is like that being, that's all two things. One, you said when the imagery of like it's good enough, man. We got a good program. Like I'm thinking that's not too far from that fucking principle. It's like we go after excellence. And those kids like we don't. They're losing, but whatever. Like you're on that path towards. When you lose your momentum, it's all is lost. And I think back to Louis C.K., the fucking great comedian. He goes, I looked at George Carlin. He goes, I would see how much material he turned over. Go, that makes sense to me. That's gonna be me. Like every year, I want to know that I'm bringing everything I got. I'm on the leading edge. Like year to year, I'm tossing out my old shit, my old material.
So he gets
I'm
better.
on the leading edge. I'm always looking. Like I'm always thinking, like what different association can I make? What else is there? And because you're on that edge, it's the habit. Before you know it, you're always just refining, always thinking. And year to year, you're not the same person in all the best kind of ways. I feel that too. Like I gotta be
evolve.
I want to be on the edge of not on some kind of intense hardcore edge, but like I want to be out there where new ideas can be connected and I can see things differently. That's what I like about CrossFit, because I had to go back to the beginning, the first edge I was ever on, and go, I got to rethink how I just move. And that starts changing everything all over again. Like everything that was normal and great and optimal and close to the good enough or whatever, the definitions change.
And now
I don't see it the same way. It
Yeah.
can't be perfect. It was perfect the way I saw it, and now it's bullshit. I got to fix it.
It's so fun. Like I was thinking that too. Like today, I was thinking to myself, all right, we got Travis Mash coming here Sunday, and I'm like, damn, I'm 38, and I'm like learning weightlifting. I haven't. I've been working out since I was 13. That's so this June will be 20. I was 13 and a half. I remember it was like 2 weeks before 8th grade ended, and I'm not like, well, I've learned enough. I'm good enough. Like I'm learning like power cleans. I'm like learning more mobility. Like all these little things.
It's
like
fucking satisfying as hell when you go back and you do something. Like you have this big reward. You get this big fucking wow. I move better now. After years and years of grinding on deadlift or bench,
you feel like you're alive. Like if you don't keep like evolving and keep growing, I just feel like you're dead. And that's what like we talk about, like just like get comfortable being uncomfortable. So I'm not always like, I remember I was like, when I started like trying to like practice weightlifting, when I set up the rack and I just had the barbell in the garage, I started like trying to do the snatch. And I remember I was like doing dumbbell snatches with 110 pound dumbbell, 120 pound dumbbell. I was doing a snatch with 85 pounds. I was like, dude, why is this so fucking hard? I like do this with like one arm. And then it just started like firing me up to take things, to that next level. So, when you guys ask me about like, how do you train athletes and all that stuff, it is very hard because I'm so like emotionally into it that you just couldn't stop me from doing it. And I mean, this is legitimately like, if we win the lottery, my wife's like always playing the lottery, I'm like, I would still be fucking training athletes. When you talk about what would you do for free, and really my vision is this, is that, I want to have a barn and train people in a barn. And did you guys ever see, they put it on CrossFit Journal, Al Buck's gym? I think he's in Tennessee. He's an anesthesiologist. He started training a couple people.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about this guy.
Dude,
I want to go.
They have like a 10, 12-minute video. He's got a small garage, got like 1 or 2 squat racks. Then outside, there's like Atlas stones in like a pit.
He's got a lot of outdoor training.
Everything is outdoors.
Yeah.
And when I was
Sounds
training,
fun.
it's like heaven. When I was training the athletes, before I even had the first gym, we like took this like, it was just me training them. There was this group of wrestlers that started, and they didn't qualify out of the district. There's the districts, then you go to the regions, then you go to the states. The states are held in Atlantic City. To go to the states as a wrestler is like, quote unquote, living the dream. And I got like 6 minutes before I got to pick up my son. So
he can wait. Was he like 5?
Yeah,
he's pretty autonomous.
Hey, toughen that kid up, make him wait on the snow.
Toughen up, son. Fucking run your ass here. Down the highway. And we trained this group of kids, and their senior year, actually some of them, they're junior, but they all went to the States. They all placed in the States, and they were like dude, I felt like they were like they became bad motherfuckers because we trained them so imperfectly, whatever the word is, like not perfectly, right? And I feel like when I get out of those elements, when we get out of the gym and train out of the gym, you build bad motherfuckers. And to me, I want to get back to like that, the garage, but in a barn, because I'm going to tell you why. I never want to like take on a client, take on a member ever, and in the back of my head saying, I don't want to work with that kid, but I could use that money to pay the rent or to pay these bills. I don't want that shit. So I want to own my building, put it in a barn, and just gonna be like, you know, that's it. You're coming here, prepare to fucking do battle, like war. That's it. And I think that's where I'll connect
to that point. So there's a lot of young kids getting fired up. The energy is there. That's a huge component of what makes this successful, I imagine.
Yeah, the atmosphere.
I imagine you follow a conjugated West Side, quote unquote, highly variable system, because like these kids fucking just have a fucking good time, right? Like
they have ADD, no doubt, with the training. So you have to vary the training, but you can't vary it so much in a CrossFit sense, constantly varied, or they'll never even be good at the shit. Like they're so uncoordinated, because now young athletes
can't get strong that way.
Dude,
right?
You can't get strong, and they specialize in sport so early that their movements are so out of whack. They're so fucked up. Like very tight on this side, can't do a squat.
What'd you do with that kid who couldn't fucking bound on one leg, by the way?
Dude, I stopped letting him squat, bench, and deadlift. And I said, that's it. Now we're doing fucking kettlebells, sleds, sledgehammers, body weight work. I was like, dude, you could already do all that other shit. But the other problem was, first of all, that kid, you know, he was training with us twice a week. And then he'd always get pissed, like when he'd get crushed during the workout. He was training with us twice a week. And I remember him doing like farmer walks with the 45s on each side. So the bar was it was like 110 pounds. He'd do one set, second set, shit would like fly at his hands. He'd be like, oh, fuck. He'd be all mad. I'm like, dude, why are you pissed? Like, why are you fucking pissed? I got kids. There was kids that were like 130 pounds carrying the 120s in each hand. Yeah. And I was like, you've been coming here for 2 months. I was like, what do you do on the days that you're not here? He goes, well, nothing. And I was like, oh, I fucking ripped into him, because we had other kids that were killing it, and they were training with us more frequently. And not only would they train with us more frequently, but they'd be like, I went to the high school weight room. When I was done with the high school weight room, I went out to the soccer field and I did sprints, and then I did pull-ups off the soccer goalpost. They were doing, you know, champion shit. They were doing stuff on their own. And that's what I tell these kids. I go, you need to do training when you're not with me. Because if you only wait for training with me, or you only wait and train when your parents tell you to train, or you'll never be a champion.
I think you have to
you have to like pull it out.
You got to get to know yourself, and you're uncomfortable. You're out. You're grinding against a heavy knurled thing, and you got to be on your own and realize what it gives to you. And sometimes you need quiet and solitude for that. That's why I love a garage.
And it doesn't
gym.
have to be perfect. I tell them, look, don't be emailing me like how many sets and reps I do.
Doesn't fucking matter, dude.
Fucking go to war, whatever you do. Go out to go to the woods, start fucking running. You come up to a branch, fucking do pull-ups. You come up to a stone, carry that shit till you can't carry it anymore. Like,
so is that with a functional, because we can talk all the periodization shit you want with these young kids. It's tough. Do you simply say, I'll tell you when to rest. Don't you fucking worry about resting. But every time you do it, I just want a little more. Is it as simple as that? Like all these
I basically, you know, if we tried to do any kind of scientific shit, I'd say it's auto-regulated. So, you know, I'm very dialed in. I'm going to tell you that. And one thing people look at me is they see like the passion, and that overrides like my knowledge and training. Every workout I do is an assessment. The warm-up is an assessment, because every day is different for these kids, because they're competitors. Mm-hmm. They're sore. They're beat up. Mentally, they have a great day, or mentally they're beat up. I have to be able to find a way to know, is this the right day to fucking push him to really hit a max workout, or is this the day where I'm going to back off and make it a high rep day, or is he injured here? How do I mobilize him and still get working? How do I build up his confidence after he just lost that match? What is the thing he needs to experience because he's going through depression? I've worked with all those fucking kids. Kid comes in, he's depressed, he shows up late, I have to fucking pull him out of his car. Okay, that kid doesn't need to go through a Metcon. That kid needs to do a couple heavy sets of a couple hard reps, low reps, of some squatting, some deadlifting, some
powerful, man.
To fucking feel powerful. Then the other kid, he needs a confidence booster. I'm going to put him through a challenging workout, and then I'm going to fucking crank that stereo like that Limp Biz song. I'm like, see, I fucking told you you're a warrior. You're a fucking warrior.
Guy's like, maybe I am a warrior.
Yeah, I'll be like, dude, you're a fucking warrior. Yeah, all these other kids, they're home. Nobody's working harder than us right now, motherfuckers. You guys are gonna kill them. I'm like, you guys are gonna kill everybody. Like I do what needs to get done.
Kill everybody.
Yeah, because performance is not just the physical.
Imagine fucking getting on a wrestling mat with this dude's kids, and you're a fucking 17-year-old kid. This guy's kids get their hands on you. You quit immediately.
I would just start talking to him nicely, like, we can solve this other ways. How much money do you want?
It's a big mental thing. But then you have kids, when they are beat up and they are banged up, then you got to say, okay, I'm going to pull back this week. I'm going to deload. And when I deload all volume. By volume, I mean total amount of sets, total amount of time in the gym, intensity, the weight they use. And they'll train for maybe 30 minutes. They won't, squat or deadlift. And then I let them just do whatever the fuck they want for the next 30 minutes. You know what they do? They do this. They chill out with one another. They start talking. They don't go home. But then they start, like the end of the week, they start itching. And then that next week they come in and they fucking ready to kill the weights. They're ready to kill the weights. Yo, can I take a quick break here for a second?
All right, let's take a break. I think you need to go pick up your kid.
Yeah, I gotta see.
Go get some lunch.
My wife might be able to pick him up.
Come back, wrap this up. We'll train. We'll do that high rep confidence building thing.
Yeah.
For us.
We're all hungover. We need a confidence boost. Oh, yeah, we crushed it.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know. We'll do this. Consider this part 1 of like 15 we're going to do with Zach over the years.
Zach, if anyone wants to learn more about how you train people, where can they go?
Yeah, go to undergroundstrength.tv. That's like the easiest way. That's the blog. And then you can connect through like Facebook, Twitter, my seminars, all that shit.
And you got your own podcast too?
Yeah, we got on iTunes, it's called Strongcast. And I have a certification. I don't travel too much for it, but I'll be in Florida, San Diego. Here and there I travel. Most of the time we do it here in New Jersey. Because when they come here, what I like to do is tell people, like, come here, chill out a little bit. You go to the beach. If you never went surfing before, you learn to go surfing. You could go mountain biking. So it's when I do like training shit, man, I think like training should be beyond the physical. Like it has to be like
spiritual experience,
man.
Like a traincation.
Yes.
Get out of your own element. Go to a gym.
You need
hang out
renewal.
with different people. Yeah, something that's rejuvenating.
Yeah, and train outside of the gym, meaning like I call it like being a soul lifter. Like a you ever see that movie North Shore? Remember that shit? With fucking old school Laird Hamilton, and the guy was teaching the kid how to surf, and he's like, surf on the longboard, surf on the shortboard, surf big waves, surf small waves, surf with no surfboard, just go body surfing. He goes, that's what a soul surfer does. He don't discriminate against the surfboard. So I feel like training, like
that connection,
for me,
that Louis would identify with that.
dude,
all those guys
I
who
would
see the
train.
benefit of that.
I'll train using a stone. I'll train outdoors at a playground. I'll train out on the sand, or I'll just go surfing or stand up paddleboarding, or I'll go mountain biking. And if I'll go mountain biking, I'll fucking find myself. I don't even pay attention to the trails. I'll just stop where I'm at.
Sometimes he's out there for days.
Dude, for days. I hashtag DEAT kids.
All right, guys. Make sure to check out Zach's stuff. And, of course, go to barbellshrugged.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you'll learn some weightlifting stuff.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
Cheers.
Cool.